quietly, the 49ers have been making moves, one of which I believe could be a statement move. We'll talk about that in a second. Plus, later in the video, I've got an update on a bunch of top players that I think you're going to find really interesting. If you're new here, I'm Nate, and if you're looking for daily 49ers content, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on all of it. I'm working super late today, again, for the second or third day in a row, so I'm not going to be able to get a video done at home today at all. So here I am in my car, lunch break time, and I want to just start with the moves, some of the moves that are happening behind the scenes, okay? So let's start with Demetrius Flannigan-Foles. He's gone, I think. I'm not 100% sure whether or not nobody really knows if this is a procedural move that has to do with where he's at right now with the IR stint and all that kind of stuff, or if this is a future planning move. This is a permanent move, right? Some people out there are thinking that this is more of the 49ers releasing him early enough to, because he's actually released, he could sign with another team, not have to wait for free agency to hit, which would be an advantage to him, considering I don't want to hate on his abilities, but he's not going to be a top prospect for a linebacking position in most teams, and he's probably not even going to be a starting linebacker on any team. I don't know. Maybe there are a couple teams out there, but whatever the point is, I'm not sure what it is. If it is a statement move, or if it is not a procedural move, it is a statement move. Like, it is a move that the 49ers are showing where they stand on a player that, whether or not you like DFF or not, doesn't really matter. The 49ers love this guy. They have loved this guy for a long time. He's obviously played a huge role in special teams, as well as being primarily a backup linebacker for the 49ers, but starting Sam this year. He was the starting Sam at the beginning of this year, and so he actually played... I can't remember who pulled the quote up, so now I feel bad because I want to make sure I give him credit. Did I write it down anywhere? I want to say he played, maybe it was Kyle Madsen, but he played 20% of the defensive snaps this season, which was a career high for him. So that kind of gives you a picture into kind of how the 49ers feel about him. I actually didn't know he was going to make the 53 this year. Last offseason, as I was doing my projections, I wasn't so sure. I felt like he was a bubble guy, but the 49ers really love him and definitely want to keep him around. And I want to say, maybe a week or two before the 53-man roster was announced, coaching staff were basically just saying, no, we love Flan, we're keeping him around. So all of that to say, I think that could be potentially a really big move, a statement move. Tells you a lot, too, about what the 49ers think about Jalen Graham. Tells you what they think about D. Winters. Tells you what they hopefully think about what's going to happen with the Will starting position. So all of this stuff is going to be super interesting to pay attention to as things come out. But I don't want to waste too much time on this one. Also, I'm sure you know by now that we tendered a bunch of guys. Evan Anderson, which is an undrafted free agent who had a surprisingly good impact. Same with Sam Okuwanu. Very similar situation there. And then you have Alex Barrett, Jalen Graham, already mentioned, linebacker. Austin Pleasance was picked up midseason for the offensive line. And then Jake Tondres and Braden Willis, tight ends. So this is interesting because I still don't know what to think about what the 49ers plan on doing with the tight end position. I would love to believe they have a plan for a pass-catching tight end who's going to be opposite of George Kittle and makes it less obvious who you're going to throw the ball to. Because when you have injuries when you have injuries out there in the wide receiving core and George Kittle's out there, George Kittle's probably your top 3 target, like in any moment. But when you have top guys out, he's your number 1 target. So it makes it a little too obvious. I would love to see a second pass-catching tight end that would, I really thought we had found that we just still haven't found every year. It seems like we think we were there and then we aren't there yet. So we'll have to wait and see what that looks like. But I think the moves are really interesting, and I'm stoked that the 49ers have tendered these guys, and we'll see from there. I also wanted to talk to you about PFF 101. There's 10 spots left on the PF 101, and I want to remind you, this is not the top 100 players per se. It's top 100 if all positions were created equal, okay? So it's kind of a unique list way before the actual offseason list season begins. And I think it's a really fascinating one. The 49ers just got 3 more guys added to that list. So we had Dominic Pooney and Trent Williams already on that list. close to the 100 mark. I think Dominic Puni was 100 and Trent Williams was 98. And then you have 3 new guys that just got added. Fred Warner was added at 57. And this is now his 5th time being in the PF 101 in a row. Here's what they said. At a position where it's hard for players to be consistently elite, he has been just that. The 28-year-old has been one of the 4 highest graded linebackers in football in each of the last 5 seasons and is now placed second 3 years in a row, this time earning an 89.2 PFF grade. While he's the 3rd ranked linebacker in this list, it's hard to not view Warner as the gold standard for the position. And I think the only thing that they got wrong for Fred Warner is listing him at 57 because of all of the things, the intangibles, all of the things that he did this season to keep our team in games and starting off, by the way, the first 5 games of the season with DPOY type performances every single week, but then having to play with an injury the rest of the season, going out there and playing every single game, even the games that didn't matter when the playoffs were no longer in the cards, and the amount of contribution we got out of Fred Warner and the difference he made on defense while having to cover for a tough, rough defensive line, not performing to its best abilities, plus changing linebackers around him and having to cover for those guys too. It just feels to me like 57's a little crazy, but whatever. I mean, that's just, that's a homer being a homer, I guess. But the next guy that got added to the list was Nick Bosa. He goes on the list, I think actually probably appropriately ranked in terms of the way that they're trying to do this PF 101, saying this about Nick Bosa. Bosa battled a pair of nagging injuries throughout the regular season, eventually missing a crucial stretch for the 49ers, a loss that may have contributed to their second half skid in 2024. Replacing his impact on defensive line is no easy task, and when healthy, he remained dominant, posting a 20% pass rush win rate, a top 5 mark among qualifying edge rushers. The thing that's interesting about Nick Bosa is from a pressure point of view, he did a really good job. From a win rate point of view, he did a really good job. I think what maybe had 49ers fans bummed was it just felt like he wasn't getting at the quarterback a lot. And that's where we have to kind of, the sack stat, excuse me, I'm speaking too quickly here. The sack stat is, it's a weird stat because it only shares a very small percentage of attempts that a player makes. And there's a lot of other parts to being an edge rusher that define their skill set. Outside containment, things like that when we're running the ball. There are a lot of other things that make up those PFF scores that players get. And so I'm okay with where he landed in this one. I'm not going to complain too much here. I think what's going to be most interesting is in the top 10, is there a 49er missing? Is there a 49er missing? We're going to get to that in just a second. But we got one more that did show up on the list we got to get to, which is, of course, George Kittle. Tight end George Kittle coming in at 13 here, saying Kittle once again proved why he is arguably the best all-around tight end in the NFL. He led the position with a dominant 92.4 receiving grade while also ranking second among tight ends with a 70.8 run blocking grade. His 2024 season featured a career-high 70.6 contested catch rate and a 2.62 yards per route run, his best since 2020. That's incredible. That's pretty awesome. I'm just sitting in a parking lot here. People are like, what is he doing over here? That's pretty incredible. George Kittle had an outstanding season. I don't think I need to say that for you to believe it. I think you know that. But what's cool about George Kittle is the impact that he had from the tight end position really up there with the greatest, like of all time, in my opinion. I feel like he's having an impact on the team from as a tight end, from a pass catching point of view, from a run blocking point of view. He is everything you would want in a tight end, and he's doing it at an elite level. We definitely need to get this guy an extension and keep him around, make sure he's a lifetime 49er. Like I was talking about Vernon Davis the other day, I don't want to see him go and win a bowl with some other team. Let's do it here. Let's do it with the 49ers. That would be best. Okay, so the total players, okay? Dominic Puni, Trent Williams, Fred Warner, Nick Bosa, George Kittle. Is there somebody missing off of this list, for one, that should have been on the 101, that isn't on the 101? And maybe another way to look at it is there someone we're waiting for? Is there a top 10 player sitting on the 49ers roster that has not been listed here? We talked a lot yesterday about Deommodore Lenoir. Demo belongs on the 101. Like, I'm not good with that. I'm not good with him being snubbed on every list. I don't understand how people underrate him so much. Is he a top 10? I don't think so. I doubt he's like left in the top 10. They haven't announced the top 10 yet. So we'll have to wait and see. I don't think any other 49er is going to be on the top 10. I think you've seen who it's going to be. I think if you could just take half the season and chunk it, I'd love to see Jordan Mason on this top 100, but I don't think because of the second half of the season, I don't think he's going to be on there. Same kind of deal with Isaac Guerendo. If you could take his best stretch and like stretch it out over the whole of the season, Isaac Guerendo would be a shout for the 101. I don't think anybody else is going to make the 101 from the 49ers roster. However, I definitely think Demo was left out, and I'm not cool with that. Is there anybody else who was left out that you feel like was incredible? I think Ronaldo Green played really, really well. I think he's, what's the word? He's a bubble guy with the PF 101 in my mind. Like, I don't see him. I don't think he had a consistent enough performance level to be in the top 100 players in the NFL, similar to Dominic Pooney, for example. But that's just where I'm at. Let me know what you think in the comments. Appreciate it. And I hope that you're having a fantastic Thursday. I was like, what day is it today? My goodness. It has been a whirlwind, fighting sicknesses and, videos in the middle of the day and at night, and it's been nuts. But anyway, I hope you have a fantastic Thursday, and I'll see you next time.